Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome. He commanded armies, governed millions of people, and dealt with external pressure most of us will never know. He also, according to his private journals, which we now know as the Meditations, wrestled constantly with his own mind, with distraction, with emotional reactivity, with the gap between who he wanted to be and how he was actually showing up. If the most powerful man in the Roman world was having this struggle, maybe the struggle itself is not the problem. Stoicism is one of the most misunderstood philosophical traditions in history. Most people think it means suppress your emotions and power through. It doesn't. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, were deeply interested in how the mind works, why it creates suffering, and how to cultivate genuine equanimity in the face of things you cannot control. For ADHD adults, this teaching is not just philosophy. It is a practical framework for stopping the war against yourself. The foundation of Stoic practice is what Epictetus called the Dichotomy of Control. Some things are in our power, and some things are not. Things in our power: our judgments, our intentions, our responses, our choices about what to give our attention to. Things not in our power: other people's behavior, outcomes, our neurological wiring, what happened in the past. The radical Stoic move is not to stop caring about things outside your control. It's to stop locating your well-being there. The ADHD nervous system often does the opposite. It puts enormous emotional weight on outcomes, other people's opinions, and circumstances that cannot be controlled, and then suffers when those things don't cooperate. An ADHD adult might spend significant energy suffering about the fact that they have ADHD, wishing it weren't there, angry at the diagnosis, grieving the years spent not knowing. All of that is understandable, and the grief is real. But at some point, the energy that's going into resisting what is cannot be going toward what could be. The Stoic practice is not to be glad about ADHD. It's to stop paying the interest on a debt you can't change. What is in your power? How you respond to having ADHD. What accommodations you seek. What practices you build. What understanding you develop. What story you tell. None of those require your ADHD to be different. They only require you to work with it instead of against it. The Stoics developed a concept that Nietzsche later named Amor Fati, love of fate. Not passive resignation, not pretending everything is fine, but a genuine willingness to stop fighting the particular set of circumstances you've been given and start working with them as the actual material of your life. This is one of the most radical things you can do, and one of the most liberating. Consider what your specific ADHD journey has given you. The sensitivity, the creativity, the ability to see what other people miss, the depth of feeling, the survival skills you built, the resilience of someone who had to learn things the hard way. None of that came cheaply, and none of it would exist if your path had been easier. Amor Fati doesn't erase the cost. It asks, given that this is the path I have, what is it actually making possible that nothing else would? The people in this world who turn their struggles into genuine contribution are almost always people who, at some point, stopped fighting their particular story and started using it. Your ADHD story is not a liability to your credibility. it may be the most important thing you have to offer. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations as private daily reflections, never intended for publication. Each morning, he would review his principles. Each evening, he would review his day. Where did he fall short? Where did he act well? What could be done differently? This practice of structured self-reflection without self-punishment is one of the most powerful tools available to an ADHD adult. Not because it fixes the ADHD, but because it builds the one thing ADHD makes hard: continuity. A thread of conscious self-observation across time. A simple Stoic evening reflection for ADHD. 3 questions. What went well today? What was hard? What is one thing I want to bring differently tomorrow? Not a lengthy analysis. Not a shame spiral. 3 questions, written down if possible. Because writing externalizes what ADHD brains often struggle to hold internally. 5 minutes at most. Over weeks and months, this builds a relationship with yourself that most ADHD adults have never had. A sense of continuity, learning, and growth across time. ADHD often creates a fractured relationship with time. The past feels distant, the future feels unreal, and the present is overwhelming. Daily reflection stitches those pieces together. It creates the experience of being a coherent person moving through time, which is in itself profoundly healing. Making peace with your ADHD doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean deciding it doesn't matter. It means stopping the war against something that is part of who you are and redirecting that energy toward what is actually in your power. That redirection changes everything. Tonight, try the 3-question reflection. What went well? What was hard? What do I want to bring differently tomorrow? Write it down. That's the whole practice. See what shifts. Next video, we close out phase 1 with something practical. How to set spiritual intentions in a way that your ADHD brain will actually remember and actually follow through on. Subscribe to keep going with this series. And tell me below, which Stoic idea landed for you? The Dichotomy of Control, Amor Fati, or the Daily Reflection? I'm curious which one is most useful for where you are right now.